Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another hand review. This hand was posted in our private Discord group, and yeah, you can really learn a lot of concepts from this hand, and that's why I decided to make a YouTube video out of it. So let's take a look. So as you can see, we play in a live cash game. We have pocket fives on the button and we play in a 2-2 game. So the small blind is $2 and the big blind is $2. This is actually fairly common in live cash because super often there are just no $1 chips, and then yeah, you just play a 2-2 or a 5-5 game. That's just easier in terms of chip management. And yeah, as we can see, we play definitely in a live game because we play 9-handed and under gun limps. So definitely a good game. Yeah, it goes all the way to the hijack. He is a loose fun player. He also limps. And now we get to the first question. Should we go ahead and ISO raise with pocket fives? And I would say against one fairly bad opponent that limps on the hijack, yes, we definitely want to go ahead and ISO raise with pocket fives, and overall a fairly loose range. Probably not our standard button raise first in range, but something like the cutoff raise first in range, so something like 25% is definitely fine against a very weak opponent in position with initiative. Why not? We are so much better post flop, and we have position and initiative. This will be really profitable. But in general, when you play against more than one opponent, so here under the gun limped, we should be a bit more cautious because we are not always realizing our equity, especially when under gun limps. He can go ahead and limp raise, and of course with pocket five, not too much we can do. We have to fold when he limp raises. So we just need a somewhat tighter ISO raising range. I would say here something like MP or under the gun ISO raising range is fine, or somewhat tighter under the gun raising ISO raising range would be fine. So something like sevens plus 10-9 or Jack 10 suited plus. This is legit, but pocket fives is an awesome hand to overlimp, because we are still 100 big blinds deep, and of course the pot is already fairly big, so even in a limp pot super often we can get all the money in against weaker opponents when we flop a set. But here, as you can see, hero goes ahead and ISO raises to $14. Raise sizing is fine when you want to get some full equity, but that's also a reason we have to ISO raise a bit bigger in general to have full equity against those two limpers, and that's the reason why we also want to just ISO raise a bit tighter in terms of ranges. Yeah, we are lucky, under gun gets out of the way and the fun player calls. Yeah, flop is not so great. Flop is ace king 9 with 2 diamonds. We have no nothing, just under pair to the board. But we are lucky, our opponent checks, because when he bets, not too much we can do, right? If he bets, even if he bets $10 or $14 or $30, all the time we have to give up and fold our hand because we have nothing. Basically drawing to 1 or 2 outs. And the question is now, should we c-bet this board texture? And overall, you should always look at the board texture first. And here the board texture, of course, favors our range. So we have range advantage, because we can have all these strong hands. We have ace 9, we have aces, kings, ace king, kings. And when our opponent has those hands, he is usually going to open raise or limp raise those hands pre-flop. He's not going to limp call with those super strong hands. And that's the reason why we have range advantage. And when we have range advantage, we can definitely go ahead and bet this board texture with our entire range or close to our entire range. And this is what we want to do here. Even with a weak hand as pocket fives, we want to bet really small. We don't have to invest a ton. We just want to deny equity, get some value from worse like flush draws. But most of the time we just want to deny equity, and we don't want to get bluffed here with pocket fives, because when he has a hand like 10-8 offsuit, so something like 10-8 in hearts, and the turn is a jack or a queen, or even if it's a blank and he feels like bluffing, he bluffs and we fold with the best hand, because with pocket fives we cannot call the turn, and even when the turn goes check check, he decides to bluff river, we are screwed. We have to fold with fourth pair or third pair, with fourth pair or fifth pair. Not too much we can do. And that's the reason why we just want to go ahead and range bet. In general, when we want to bet our whole range, we want to bet fairly small. So here, pot is 34 bucks. I would suggest something around 1/3. So 10 bucks is the way to go. Don't make it too big. No need to make it 14 bucks. Hands that fold to 14 bucks will also fold to 10 bucks. So yeah, just give yourself a better price. And when you look at the stack to pot ratio, so our opponent has 140, pot is already 34. We always get his money in, even when we bet 10 bucks on the flop. We can always bet turn, bet river, and get all the money in. There's just no need to bet way bigger. So yeah, just bet 1/3 in those situations. And like I mentioned, definitely want to deny equity so that our opponent is folding hands like Jack-6 in clubs on the flop, right? That he folds like 10-8 in clubs on the flop, or in hearts or whatever. That he folds like 7-8 offsuit or another suit on the flop. This is our plan. When our opponent has a 9 or an ace, a king, a gut shot like Queen-Jack, Queen-10, he is not going to fold this board texture. He's always going to call. If we bet 10, 14, 16, 20, there's just no difference. Yeah, turn is a queen, our opponent checks, and super often I get the answer, well, I want to represent a flush, now I bet. And of course, you can have a lot of flushes here on the button. You have all the Jack-9 in diamonds, 10-9 in diamonds, 6-7 in diamonds, 7-8 in diamonds, Jack-10 in diamonds, royal flush, baby. Yeah, so we can have a lot of flushes here, that's true, but look at your hand. Do you have a strong hand? Do you have a strong draw? And overall, when you feel like bluffing, always think if you have better hands to bluff with. Because this hand is one of the worst hands we can bluff with. Because on the turn we have better hands. Even with a hand like Queen-Jack, Queen-10, this is a better bluff. Because we can still win at showdown with a lot of cards. Super often, right? So for example, when we have like Queen-10, super often a queen gives us the best hand, a jack gives us the best hand, because then we have the straight. Even two pairs can be live sometimes against weaker aces when our opponent has like a7 in hearts or something like this. But with pocket fives, how many outs do you have? One or two, that's about it, right? And that's a problem. In general, you want to be able to win at showdown. So you want to have as many outs as possible. So for example, when we have like 10-8 offsuit with a 10 in diamonds, this would be an awesome bluff. Of course here, given that we ISO raised against two opponents, we cannot have those hands. That's why I mentioned a hand like Queen-10, for example. Even hands like Jacks, 10s have not too much showdown value, but every 10, or some 10x, and definitely the Jack will help us on the river. So we have way more outs, right? We talk about 4 or even 6 outs. And with pocket fives, we just have 2 outs. So even if you decide to bluff, pick your bluffs wisely and think about your whole range. At first, think about your value range. How does my value range look like? And here, yeah, we have some straights, we have some two pairs, we have some sets, and of course, we also have a lot of flushes that we want to value bet against our fun player on the turn. Sizing wise, I also think it's a bit too big. We bet 45 into 62. This is just too big. Our opponent has 122 behind, so betting like 30-40 bucks is more than enough, because we always get the money in on the river. Because when we bet 30 bucks, this is 30 plus 30 is 60, this is 120, and our opponent has 90 behind on the river. Even when we go a little bit more polarized, so we bet like 42, then 140 is in the pot and our opponent has 80. Something like this is totally fine. No need to bet so big. And it doesn't matter which hand we have, because like I mentioned, we always get it in. So always look at the money behind, it's just way easier. And in this actual situation, always think about your opponent. He is a loose fish. This means he's probably never ever ever folding an ace to a second barrel. And he has a lot of aces. When he is a loose fish, he's probably limp calling a ton of aces, like ace-6 offsuit, ace-7 offsuit, ace-2 suited, ace-4 suited, and he's not folding any of those holdings on the turn, right? He's a loose fish. When you make top pair, you feel like the king. Because when you play so loose, most of the time you make nothing, third pair, fourth pair, and you have to give up all the time. So when you make top pair, you are not there to fold. You are there to call, and that's why we definitely want to go super thin for value against those loose fun players, but not bluff too much because they are super sticky. So on the turn, I think we can get some 9x to fold and some king x with no diamond and no straight draw. So something like king 8 off, king 7 off, king 6 off. And of course, here it depends how loose your opponent is when you can have those hands. We should definitely include some bluffs in our turn betting range. But if he's tighter and he cannot not have those hands, this means he's fairly ace-x heavy, and only, yeah, he will only have some 9x plus diamonds. And even with those hands, fun players are not going to fold because they have a pair, they have a flush draw. So if, for example, when they have like 8-9 or 10-9 with a diamond, no way they are ever folding. So be cautious, bluff a little bit less when you know your opponent is not folding too much on the turn, and go really thin for value against those players. And yeah, just get paid when you have a strong hand. So yeah, I hope you learned a lot of concepts with which hands to bluff on the turn, and why bluffing with pocket fives is a bad idea on this run out. Yeah, as a result, the loose fun player goes all in, and we definitely hate life when something like this happens. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.